we'll go from there.
You gonna tweet it out?
Yep, I'm gonna tweet it out once I get the link. Sometimes it doesn't pop up on my phone saying I'm live. It's weird. Because I only have a laptop right now to do it off of. Yep, we are live.
All right, let's go. I'll retweet it.
Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and share it on Twitter right now.
Yes, sir. Let's get the viewers up.
That worked. Boom. All right. Episode. This is a more official one start than the one with Friar Bad, but episode 2 of the Friar Friday podcast.
What's up?
We're here with MattyCatty15. If you don't know who he is, he's another Twitter user similar to Friar Bad who has a lot of interesting opinions. And new co-host. Yep, we're going to try to have a new guest on every single time. And let's just go ahead and let's start off, if anyone doesn't know who you are, what are your opinions on the Padres and how long you've been a Padres fan?
I mean, to start off with that question, I've been a Padre fan since I was a kid. Family's from San Diego, so it was instilled in me to be a Padre fan. So it's been in me for a long time, and I'll never leave that ever. Because I started watching baseball 06, 07. So obviously I had to go through, like all of us did, the bad times until recent.
This is a good question. I'm gonna ask every guest who comes on here. Who's your favorite player through the shitty times? Like, I'm not talking like a Khalil Green, but like an Alexi Amarista type of guy. Who is that guy that you're like, I like this guy when we were like 60, 70 win team?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's
a really good question. Oh, I don't want to say Chase Headley because he was kind of overrated.
He had that one insane season. That was one of the best seasons by a Padres.
Second half of 2012.
Yeah,
specifically.
Yeah, he almost won the Triple Crown.
I'll say Jan Solarte.
That's a good one.
I'll say him.
Funny story. My friend was at Game 3 versus the Dodgers. I was at that one too, and Solarte was in the crowd. A lot of people don't know that he was in the crowd, and he took a photo of Solarte at the game.
I think I saw it on Twitter that he was there.
It was pretty fucking sick. Just kind of going over some of the basic questions. Obviously, we're in for an interesting offseason. You have some of the best players in baseball on the Padres, and what is, in your opinion, would you like to add if you were to add one of the best players in baseball? Let's say you're AJ Preller, you can do whatever you can. Who are you adding to this roster between Judge, Ohtani, DeGrom, players like that? If you had to choose one, who are you adding? Give me a big name player right off the rip that you'd love to add to this roster.
Trey Turner.
Trey Turner?
That's my number one guy, but it's going to be tough.
I mean, I'm not saying it's happening. This is just kind of a question to throw out there. But what makes you think Trey Turner? Because I'm personally I'm not big on Trey Turner. That's why I'm always interested why people love him.
The argument of we need a leadoff guy, to extend the lineup.
For sure.
Like, in front of, Tatis, Soto, and Manny when they come up. Is he would be the absolute perfect guy. Yeah. Because, if he gets on base, you have to throw all those three guys fastballs because he's going to do in the base paths. That's my opinion. And we're taking him away from the Dodgers. That's the most important.
That's true. That's true. Plus, he could play center field.
Yes.
A lot of people forget that he actually came up as a center fielder, and a lot of people also forget that he was on the Padres when we traded him away. But we're gonna ignore that. We're gonna act like that never happened.
Never.
I want to ask you another question, and this is something you mentioned during your spaces that I found really interesting was the one player for 120 or the 6 for 60. I never heard what you want and the players you want. I'm really interested on that.
Okay, so for background, I do spaces on Twitter just as an avenue for people to have their opinions. So obviously, Gavin, you've been in there many times, numerous times. I like you, you like me. That's why I'm on here, so it works out. So right now, I'll give you the rundown on financials since I like doing that.
Go ahead.
And the math. So let's say Profar, Martinez, and Robert Suarez opt out. And we'll throw Jorge Alfaro as a non-tender because I think it's pretty clear that's going to be Campuzano and Nola behind the plate next year.
Quick question: what do you think the odds are that he gets non-tendered versus traded?
Non-tender, because you don't have to pay him at all.
Yeah, but Alfaro has more value now, where you may be able to get some return for him.
50-50.
50-50? That's fair.
50-50, maybe even a 60-40 in favor of trade. Just depends what we can get and what we like.
Yeah, he technically got traded here. He didn't get non-tendered.
Yeah, so, we traded him for nothing.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It was like the Yonder Alonso 2020 trade. Remember we got Yonder Alonso for $1?
I remember that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know about that, but yeah. So that's definitely interesting. I didn't really think about it, and a lot of people are big on Alfaro as a team chemistry guy. I think a lot of Padre fans overvalue certain players because of their team chemistry and the vibes they give off. Like for example, we talked in your space a lot about Nick Martinez a couple nights ago. I think Nick Martinez is great, but I also think if he walks, oh well, you can get a guy like Nathan Eovaldi who does the same stuff. That's just my opinion on it. But I think there's a lot of people, a lot of Padre fans that fall in love with players like that, and it's gonna be hard to get rid of them. You know? What I mean? But
I tell you, same thing with Profile. Because people love him as well.
People love him. But sorry for getting you off on a tangent. Back to the financial side of things.
You're fine. So based on estimates, let's say those three opt out. Probably all of them do. Martinez is the most likely to opt in, right? Yeah. And then let's say Alfaro is non-tendered. That'll save around $4 million if we just don't pay him and let him go for nothing. We'll be around $207 million. Spot Track even has it at the numbers, so it's pretty accurate.
That's good.
So we have like $26 million before we hit the first threshold of the CBT. I really think we're going to spend close to 273. That's my opinion.
273. Wow. That's a lot.
I know. It's pretty crazy being a Padre fan and like living in this world of us spending all this money.
Exactly. 273. Is that how did you come up with that number?
Because there's thresholds, like we know 233, like last year was 230, it's going up by 3 million. So there's levels to the competitive balance. Those like every 20 million. So for next year, the first threshold is 233, then 253, 273, and the highest one is 293. 293. So the penalties for each one you hit will get higher and higher. So I think we'll be in between 253 and 273. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah, I mean that's a great take. That's something I wasn't able to get out of Friar Bad when I had him on here. I was like, how much do you think we're gonna be willing to spend this offseason? He goes, Papa Pete, and I was like, yeah, that's great, but I'm really interested in the numbers behind it because the numbers always interest me.
For sure.
I think that I don't know, man. It's tough to predict with AJ Preller what he's gonna really do. I have a source now. I'm going public. I have a source.
Okay.
So this is really weird, but I work at a restaurant, and one of the guys that comes to the bar all the time, I was talking to him last night, and we were watching the World Series. I was like, dude, like, what do you think's gonna happen this offseason? What do you think Preller's gonna do? He's like, I don't know, but I'll let you know. My sister's dating Preller.
Okay.
I was like, what? Your sister? Can you imagine dating AJ Preller?
Man.
That would be that guy. I'm like, dude, tell him to get back in the fucking office and stop banging your sister. Like, let's get it together here. We got trades to make. We got pieces to pick up. But
hey, Preller will spend most of his nights at Denny's. Come on now.
He probably will. Hopefully. I mean, I feel like he doesn't have a lot to go out and get this offseason, but you you never know with AJ Preller. You don't know. For all we know, I think that there's a 20 to 30% chance that we'll trade for Ohtani, in my opinion.
I won't be shocked by the slightest because hey, it's 1 year left on the deal, so the value isn't as high as 3 months ago at the trade deadline. Yeah.
There's obviously something that Preller sees in there. Oh, man, that guy's special. I mean, even the guys, as far as I know, and maybe you know better than me, as far as the guys that have gone to the Nationals, they haven't really performed.
Well,
Hassel
in my
hasn't performed,
go
from what
ahead.
I heard.
Well, in my opinion, the two main guys that will hurt the most from that deal, the Soto trade,
Mm-hmm.
what are going to be James Wood, who's like a freak. Like, I think we're kind of starting to see it. We started to see it before he got dealt.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I'll say Susana, just the other guy.
I was always really high on Susana.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a 17-year-old that's thrown almost 100. That's
I know.
crazy.
Like, straight gas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, Hassel, to me, is definitely not a top 2 player in that deal. Like, yeah, I think he'll be decent if he hits the big leagues, and he should. I just don't think the ceiling is that high. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
like,
I know what you mean. I think he's kind of like an Adam Frazier type of hitter.
Yeah.
That was always my comp for him. I never thought that he had crazy pop. I thought he was always a singles. Like, people always try to compare him to Christian Yelich, but I just didn't think he had the pop to be compared to Christian Yelich.
And then same with CJ. So, like, he doesn't have pop. He doesn't walk either. So it's like, who knows? It's like, I feel like I'm okay giving up Hassel and Abrams in that deal.
Oh, for sure. I mean, but even looking back at that trade now, it's crazy how much we traded away. You know?
Yeah, for sure, no question.
Like, it's like, in the moment, I was thinking about how we got Juan Soto, and this is the first time I've really went back and reflected on that trade. I don't know about you. This is the first time I've looked back at it, and that's kind of like crazy that we gave up as many people as we did. Like, that's insane. I mean, you're talking about any of the, what was it, 5 players we traded?
Five prospects and Voit, right?
Yep. So yeah, five prospects we traded, and Voigt's going to segue into my next question.
Go on.
But the 5 prospects we traded, in any other trade, they're all the number 1 leading prospects in the trade. You know what I mean? They're all headlining. But to get into the Voit question, I see a lot of people on Twitter say that they want Voit to come back to San Diego. And I personally am not a fan of it, but I'm going to ask you, first of all, what do you think of if we were to bring Voit back? What do you think about that?
I personally wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't be in love with it, and I wouldn't hate it. Yeah. Here's the reason why I think Voit struggled here. He was batting 3rd, 4th, and 5th for us before the Soto trade. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't be batting higher than 5th. Mm-hmm. If we brought him back, if the Nats non-tendered him or DFA'd him for some reason. I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah.
But I think there's better options.
For sure. Let's go ahead and hop into those better options. Who do you want at DH this year?
DH. I mean, as a whole, that's a good question. Because I can see it both ways. 1, we signed 1 main guy to do it. Mm-hmm. Or 2, it will be like a musical chair.
That's an interesting reference to use.
Yeah, because I want 2 to 3 bats this offseason. So segueing back to the bundle of players instead of getting like 1 high price player for like $30 million and only getting like 2 to 3 more guys. Mm-hmm. I want more like quantity over quality. So like give me like 6 players for around $60 million.
Yeah, for sure.
So like coming in mind, I want to bring back Brandon Drury because I feel like the price that we can get him for would be a bargain. Yeah. Because he can play first, he can play second, third, and for a pinch in the outfield if needed to be, and obviously DH. Mm-hmm. Like he's going to be way cheaper than Jose Abreu, Rizzo, or Josh Bell.
I think he's better than Abreu. I think he's better than Bell. I think Rizzo's kind of tough because Rizzo had really good numbers last year. But the thing about Jury that's so crazy is we were talking about Voit earlier. We don't trade Voit away. We don't get Jury, to be honest.
Exactly. Yes.
And and you're trading away a prospect like Victor Acosta, who was considered one of our better prospects, a younger guy. It's kind of crazy how that all worked out. But kind of going off of it with the DHs, a lot of people are rallying behind Rowdy Tellez.
That's if he gets non-tendered by the Brewers, which wouldn't surprise me because the Brewers are known to be cheap. That's why we're hearing the Corbin Burns rumors.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because the Brewers, and they have new front office coming in right now, and I think they're heading to a rebuild. But I mean, Rowdy's kind of like an all or nothing guy, and I think that's nice for a DH, but I'd rather go with Jury. I don't know what you think about that.
I'd rather have Jury as well.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
He's special.
Yeah, because listen, it's like, remember, he got hurt. So it's like, his numbers could have been better if he didn't get concussed. And he could have performed a lot better, honestly, because he was doing fine in Cincinnati. Obviously, this was his career year. He did fine here. But I feel like if we keep him around next year, knowing that he wants to win, he's going to be in a good environment, I think that's beneficial. And he's from the West Coast. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
So I think that's incentive for him to stay. Like, he already knows us to a degree, and so do we as an organization.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. I think he was actually hitting above 400 in a Padres uniform before his concussion.
Yeah, I mean, he was doing,
that's incredible. Let me go back to my notes real quick. I got some questions that are written down for you that I want to ask you.
Go ahead.
What would a successful offseason look like to you?
Successful offseason. First off, again, 2 to 3 bats, preferably at the outfield in general. Maybe left field. All this outfield stuff depends on Tatis where we put him.
Yeah.
Do we put him in center or do we put him in one of the corners? So I think still one outfielder is needed if Profar opts out, because if Profar is getting the money that he desires, I'm not paying him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a good year, but we need pop.
Yeah, exactly.
Corners, so one outfielder and then one first baseman and / DH.
Where would you play Tatis, and how would you structure the defense around him?
My gut says center. Honestly.
Really?
My gut says center because remember before he got suspended.
Yeah.
I know he didn't play in center, but he was supposed to. But because I believe there was slick fields wherever they were playing in AA in August, they didn't play him there. So the plan was center field.
Yeah.
And he would have played center if he never got suspended this year, right? Because you weren't going to move Profar to the bench the way he played, right? Like, it was obvious.
Yeah, you definitely would have benched Grisham. I don't think Zokar would have been as filled the void as much as Kim at shortstop.
Exactly.
And if anything, you could possibly bench Profar because you could put Tatis in right and Soto in left, that's my train. I am all aboard that train. I
don't mind that at all.
I think that's our peak lineup. I think if you do that, and I think when we're in a pinch before Tatis gets unsuspended, I would put Jury in right field.
Ooh, I mean, he's played outfield before, so that's not a crazy comment at all. Here's another tangent though regarding Grisham. If we're not gonna get a starting pitcher back for him, how about another center fielder, like someone who could back up, like someone decent.
Grisham for Bellinger. Imagine if that trade happened. How weird would that be if that was a trade that happened?
I mean, that's if the Dodgers tender him.
They're gonna non-tender him. No matter what the ceiling is of Bellinger, paying him $25 million is not gonna work. That's what he's expected.
He's gonna hit the open market.
He's gonna hit the open market, and it'll be. I'm all aboard the Cody Bellinger train. I think that the big thing with Bellinger is you get a lot of upside, and if you can take a risk and he performs to his upside, it very well could be a reason we win the World Series. If we win the World Series, I think Bellinger playing to his upside would have a lot to do with it. And a lot of people don't like him because he played for the Dodgers, because he had a bad 2021 where he was injured. He only played 90 games in 2021. He played 140 this year, and his numbers were pretty bleh. 2020, not a full season, but in the full season, he still hit 240, and his postseason was actually incredible. He had a great postseason. So I'd be okay with it. I'm all aboard the Bellinger train.
I know you said it on Spaces. I mean, me just thinking about it more and more because I was kind of against it. I wouldn't mind it, honestly, because he's an upgrade over Grisham.
Yeah, I think
offensively, especially.
I think at the end of the day, looking at the center field market, because we're gonna sign a free agent, it doesn't really make sense to trade for a center fielder.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking at the market, the best options in centers may be Cody Bellinger. I can't think of anyone better. I guess you could say Kiermaier, but Kiermaier was out for the year this year.
No, because I don't think we're gonna sign Nimmo. I think that's gonna be way too
I forgot about Nimmo. I forgot about Nimmo, but he's the first thing when that comes to the head. I don't know what you think of Brandon Nimmo. I think he's a great player, but hasn't played a full season in his career up till this year.
Yeah, and his numbers haven't been this was his career year as well.
Yeah, and I mean, people were trying to say that he's going to break out at some point because he has like the best wins above replacement in center field. If you believe in that stat, I don't necessarily.
I kind of don't either.
I think it's a pretty fragile stat now. The chat is really disappointed in my Bellinger decision. They're not approving of it.
Oh man. I don't know. I think that's why we put Tatis in center. And that's why I've been advocating for an Adam Duvall who could play center as well. So if we want to push Tatis to a corner, Duvall played center when the Braves won the World Series. So it showed you he can play it. Mm-hmm. And he's going to be cheaper than a Conforto or a Nimmo because he's coming off injury. But he's had a track record in the past to hit the ball.
Yeah.
And drive in runs in the middle of a lineup.
His power has gone down a little bit, but I mean, if you pick up an all or nothing hitter, it's going to be nice to have a guy like Duvall, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to be an upgrade over Grisham.
Oh, for sure. I think there's only up from Grisham.
Yeah. So like it's for me, he's one of my top 3 outfield targets. My other 2 would be Jock, of course, because if you look at his career numbers at Petco, they're actually really good. I believe it's like a 941 OPS. So it shows you he can hit the ball at Petco, and we kind of need guys who can hit here because if you look during the regular season, our numbers at home weren't pretty offensively.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we need slug. So Jock will give it to you.
Yeah, he'll give you slug. I think he's gonna be over the $10 million line. Over, under, what do you think?
Over. I would pay him 15. I'm willing to do it.
I was big on signing Jock last year. I was big on trading for Nathan Eovaldi. I was big on trading for Jorge Soler at the deadline last year, and everyone said I was crazy. Oh, he's hitting 150. Look what he did in the World Series.
Exactly.
Guys like that perform when it comes down to it. Isn't someone asked if Duvall's 34? I believe he is 34.
Yeah, he's up there. But listen, it was just in 2021. He had 38 bombs and I believe 113 to 116 RBIs for a World Series winning team, and he played most of his games before going to the Braves in Miami, which was a hitter's park.
Mm-hmm. If you had to choose between Duvall or Abreu, who would you pick?
Abreu. Here's the thing on Abreu. Some people think he's going to go for cheap. Some people think he's going to go for a lot more than $9 million as SpotRack has it. Because I've seen sites saying Abreu will get 13, 17, and 25 a year.
Yeah, wow. That's a big difference.
I don't know. Like, he's old as well. And at this point of his career, he can't play defense with a lick.
He definitely can't, no.
Yeah, so he's exclusively a DH. So for this instance, I'll say Duvall.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing with Abreu is his power's not. It's gone. Yes. It's completely gone. Yeah. He hit 15 bombs last year. I mean, Southside isn't the most hitter-friendly park, but during the day, the ball does carry a decent bit. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But he did hit over 300, which is still very impressive. I think he has I wonder. I mean, everyone always argues that the White Sox are super comparable to the Padres.
Ooh. In what sense?
just like the team period, and I can kind of see that, you know,
I can too.
Rotation, and that's always the interesting thing. And I read this earlier on Twitter. I don't know if you read this. I think it was from what's Gary Sheffield's kid. Is it Gary
Sheffield
Sheffield
Jr.?
Yeah, he tweeted out saying the Yankees should fire Aaron Boone and the Padres should hire him.
I saw that.
What's your take on that? And why do you think he tweeted that out? Because I'm really interested in because I think I know why, but I don't know. It's up. What do you think about that?
I think Yankee fans just want his head because they haven't improved or gone as far since Game 7 of 2017 with Joe Girardi, and they fired him right after being one game away of the World Series. I think that's just part of it. I don't know why we're mentioning it. You can explain.
Let me answer this question real quick. Someone said, "Do you think Tatis will play in the outfield when he comes back and is able to play officially?" I would say there's probably a 90% chance.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he's saying that because I think that there's a lot of inner conjugation with the Padres where the front office, not necessarily Preller or anyone like that, but they're a little bit disappointed in Bob Melvin, which is really an interesting take.
Ooh.
And I think that they are, because the lineup that he had to work with should have been a team that didn't finish 30 some odd games out of the division.
Mm-hmm.
And also, let's be frankly honest, he completely mismanaged the NLCS.
Yeah.
There's no questioning that. And I think honestly, truthfully, if he managed it correctly, we would be playing the World Series right now.
Probably. I mean, all 5 games were razor thin. It wasn't like we were destroyed 12-3, 7-0.
Yeah, exactly.
They were all close games. So it was like one decision there and then decided like almost each and every game.
Mm-hmm. But like the thing about it is, he also took the Padres to the third furthest they've ever been. You know,
because like, listen, I've said this on Spaces, I've said this on Twitter like numerous times. I don't think we go here without Bob Melvin. It's not just the decision parts of it, but it's just like how he handled the clubhouse. Because like, there were a lot of moments this year that things could have went south.
Yeah, I think he's a great clubhouse guy. Someone asked, "Is Boone any better?" I don't think Boone's any better.
No, I don't think so either.
If we knew Bochy was available, Bochy would have been better.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of out of nowhere. I don't know what you thought about that, but like Bochy just like, it was like breaking news: Bruce Bochy signs contract with Rangers. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? That came out of nowhere.
I was a little surprised because like, I should point out the Rangers should contend, because like, why would he go there if they're not going to do anything?
Oh, they for sure should contend. You don't commit $500 million to sell tickets, you know?
Exactly.
I don't think Boone's any better personally.
No, I agree 100%. And like, going back to the Tatis front, because people have been freaking out. Like, we see it all over Twitter, right? Uh-huh. It's like, oh, where's Tatis gonna play? Like, should he play short? Listen, I'll say it this way. He can still be the long-term answer at short. He doesn't have to be the main guy there the next 2 years because we have Kim.
Yeah.
But like, long-term, he can still be an answer there. That's true.
I think he's getting a little husky for shortstop.
Yeah.
He's getting a little fatter.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what? Maybe he's so fat now that NBC 7 News thinks that we need to put him at first base. That was just. I don't know. I don't understand that. That didn't really.
I don't either. So it's like he'll still play games there. It's not like he's not going to play that position forever. Like, he'll still have his games there for sure. For sure. At first base? I'm just kidding. That was mind-boggling to me. I know. I was like saying, what was this?
Yeah.
It's like, our media sucks. Like, if you think about it.
San Diego's news is terrible. News period.
It is. Exactly.
Exactly. Give me a list of your top 5 pitchers you want to see on the Padres. Not fatter. Someone said he thinks that he's more buff than fat now. I think he's kind of getting a little. I'm not saying like he's fat, but I think he's got a little more chunk. He's not his rookie year. He was in minor leagues. He was a string bean.
Yeah. He was a stick.
But rank for me your top 4 pitchers of who you want the Padres to sign. Be realistic. Don't say Jacob deGrom. We all know that.
Of course. Rodon's gonna be off the table. I was on him for like a lot of the season, but he's gonna be out of our price range because he's gonna get more than $30 million, and that is a no to me. Like paying pitchers top dollar. So for me, top 4, top 5. If you're giving me right off the top of my head, I'll go Senga. Because like a lot of good reports and like just watching videos of him is like the potential is there for him to shine. Yeah, like he would be a great number 4. Tyler Anderson from the Dodgers is 2. Because again, we're gonna take away from their team, and I think he could be decent. Like, is he gonna have a 2.57 ERA again this year? No, probably not. But if he could be serviceable and be just better than what Clevenger and Manaya are. Sign me up for that.
That shouldn't be too hard. In the postseason, at least.
I know. I'll say Quintana 3 because he had a good year and he's had a track record. Yeah, he kind of sucked with the Cubs and Angels and 2021 in general as a whole. But he found something again this year. So you would figure. And pitchers have found it again after they've had some down years. So why? And he would be like cheaper than the first 2 I mentioned. Yeah. And then I'll throw in Eovaldi. Why not?
There we go.
He can throw cheese. Yeah. The more I think about it, he can throw cheese. And I don't think he's not gonna cost more than 20, right? There's no shot.
No, you could probably get him 2 years, 18 mil.
Sign me up for that.
I would be cool with that. Someone in the chat asked, do you think we should sell Kim or wait for him to fix his batting?
I'll give him 1 more year. I mean, I don't think it's foolish to see what other teams think about him.
Oh yeah,
like just shop him, just see what the temperature is in the room. Like, ooh, if we're putting Kim in the open market, what are you willing to trade us?
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, I would trade him if a team is stupid enough to blow the roof for him for some reason.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some team out there that's willing to do it.
I mean, shortstop is a very, very valuable position, and teams need those. But at the same time, going back to Kim versus Grisham, I think that's the main question of the offseason. Like, who do you trust most? For me, it has to be Kim at this point, right?
Yeah, I think Kim's a lot more trustworthy. You know what you're getting with him. I think Grisham has the most upside between them. But an interesting question that I have for you is, do you think if we had an amazing offer for Kim, something that we couldn't turn down, like for example, I think Willie Adames is going to get traded to the Dodgers, right?
Oh.
But we're just going to ignore that. So Willie Adames gets traded to the Dodgers. The Brewers need a serviceable shortstop. They come calling, hey, give me Ha-Sung Kim and 2 prospects, and I'll give you Corbin Burns. Would you pull the deal?
Oh, Kim, and we have to give up 2 prospects?
Two like median prospects. No one crazy. You're not giving up a Lesko. You're not giving up a Merrill. Nothing like that. You're just giving up 2 mid prospects.
That's a really good question, because that would give you the best top 4 pitchers in all baseball, and
arguably all time.
Darvish, Snell, and Musgrove will all slide down 1 spot.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If that happens, we need to sign someone to play short for the first 20 games and be a serviceable backup.
Eguy Rosario.
You can try him.
It's 20 games. 20
True.
Games isn't that many.
And then Tatis will be a shortstop. I wouldn't mind pulling the plug on that. I wouldn't mind it.
And I mean, also the other question I have, if you were to do a deal like that, is what do you think the clubhouse impact of losing Ha-Sung Kim would be?
That's the problem, though, because Manny clearly loves the guy. Everyone loves the guy. Mm-hmm. He's like the party guy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think the Brewers do that. But if it does happen, I kind of would. But here's the problem, too, like with Burns. we already have Darvish and Snell coming off the books next year. So it's like we need a concrete plan of who we want pitching in 2024 and beyond besides Musgrove.
Well,
if you're thinking a little bit long term, because we kind of want to contend in 24 as well. Until Soto hits the open market, if he does, that's my train of thought.
Someone asked if Tatis gets hurt, then what? I mean, that's the thing. You get caught in the pickle if you make moves like that.
Yeah. So that's why. That's a good point. That's why I would probably say no, and that's why I probably say sign at least 2 guys who can hit. Because like we know Tatis until he's shown it for a full season. If he could stay healthy, that would be great. But so far we haven't seen. The most we've seen was 130 last year.
It was like 142. I think it was 142, which is actually a good amount.
Yeah, sure, but that was like injuries on and off. But
yeah, and I mean, people complain a lot about Tatis's injuries and stuff like that, but the thing that people forget is Machado wasn't always the iron horse that he is now. Machado spent a lot of time at around the same age as Tatis. He was injured a lot of the time.
Right, you're right.
I think it's a lot of from becoming a man. Like when you become a man, these little fingernail injuries don't have you on the IL for 10 days. You're gonna play through it, and Machado played through injuries this year, as we all know, and that's just the value of him. And Tatis will hopefully get there at some point. But I mean, if you add Corbin Burnes to what we already have, and Corbin Burnes is under contract this year and next year.
Oh, so is your free agent the same year as Soto?
Yes.
So you're saying 2 years of control?
Yes.
Oh, I would do it.
Yeah.
The more I would do it, because that's a nasty top 4.
When you look at numbers like that, and you got him for this year and next year, when Darvish becomes a free agent, I personally think Darvish is going to retire, because he's going to be 38 when he's a free agent, and I'm not saying he's not cut from the same cloth as Justin Verlander. I think he is for sure, but I think that his perception of how he wants his career to end is starting to happen. From what I know, he's going to move to. From what I've heard, I know a couple people that are friends with this kid, and they're going to move to Florida and either play for a team in Florida or retire. Now, if that's the case, you could sign Corbin Burnes to basically the money that Darvish is getting paid. When you think about it. And then
extend him? Yeah,
sure. You could extend him. This is all hypotheticals talking about
Corbin Burnes. Of course.
You could extend him, and you could also extend Snell. I don't think Snell's increased or decreased his value much from his contract.
No. Yeah.
But I personally would be interested if Snell's more committed to San Diego or playing in Seattle.
Here's the thing, though, because this has been a talking point with a lot of people on Twitter about keeping Snell and if Snell wants to stay here long term. I think a lot of his actions are saying he wants to stay here, and like words wise, because listen, when he got traded here, right, you could tell how hurt he was, and that he never wanted to play for another team, and he kind of doesn't like to move places. And if he loves it a lot here, like you see him, he talks in game, right, to Don and Mud. And he does stuff with the employees at Petco. So I feel like he wants to be here long term. I mean, he's from Seattle, sure. It's the West Coast, so it's like it's not that far away. And if we're a winning ball club, and I know he says he wants to win, I think he would stay.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a normal Scott Boras client, because yes, Boras is his agent. But again, it's the end of the day, it's his say.
Yeah, I mean, Boris's thing is he's committed to making his client happy, no matter what, and a lot of people kind of undervalue that. And just unfortunately, sometimes making his client happy means that they're getting the most amount of money they could ever get.
Right.
But I don't think it's really about the money for guys like Snell and a couple other guys. I could honestly see a couple of people who are impending free agents returning to San Diego on a fairly decent discount, no matter who their agency is. Actually, I think all of our free agents, if they got the opportunity to come to San Diego on discount, would probably would, except for Profar, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
I think Bell probably not, because I think he kind of didn't like it here because Petco obviously is a pitcher's park and that hurt his numbers. So maybe not him, but Drury for sure. I mean, he seemed to like it here just like by the looks of it, just watching videos of him talking and conducting himself. But going back, like you just brought up a great point. We're trying to win a championship, right?
Yeah, of course.
And we're an attractive city just to live in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, adding those two parts together, why wouldn't you want to play here? You're going to play with Soto, Tatis, and Machado.
Well, that was
like, you're playing with three superstars.
That was the argument that Mark Melancon made when he came here.
Exactly.
He said,
yeah,
I
remember that.
want to go? It doesn't make sense. And I think you're going to see a couple of contracts this offseason where it's like, what? This guy signed for $4 million less, $5 million less? Why did he do that?
Maybe Drury does take 7 instead of like 12 or 10. He takes 2 to 3 million off. Because listen, let's go back a month ago, because another guy I kind of wanted before he got re-signed by the Giants was Wilmer Flores.
That's an interesting one.
So like his AAV, like his contract, his new contract is going to be $6.5 million AAV, and I always thought like him and Drury were the same. So I was like, I think we can get Drury for a little bit more than 6.5. And again, that's a bargain. I think Drury wants to stay.
That's actually about his projection on Spot Rank.
Yeah. So I would take that. And if you're Drury, why not? Like he just turned 34. Either in August or September, right?
I think he turned 34, right?
Drury just turned 30.
Oh, I thought he turned 30. Someone was telling me he's 34.
No, he just turned 30.
He turned 30 fairly recently.
But still, like, just getting, like, at the point of his career, right? Like, listen, he was almost out of baseball, right?
Yeah.
A year ago. It's like, no one thought he would have this year.
He was a spring training invite, yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, if he just got traded here, and he balled out the NLCS, right? Mm-hmm. What was he, 6 for 15? In the Philly series? Something like that?
It was very good. I don't remember his exact numbers.
I just feel like with him, like, just turning 30, and you're relatively close to home because he's from Oregon, I think there's, like, a lot of incentive for him, for us and him, both as a whole, to keep. Because Preller did say right after the season ended, like, we're going to explore with all three of Myers, Bell, and Drury.
Yeah. And, I mean, I get that. And I think that I don't think Bell's completely a goner like some people think he is.
Yeah.
I think there's a possibility he can return, and a lot of people don't want him to return. But the big thing in this argument's very important for Soto, too. Not everyone comes to a team and balls out right away. You know, that there's an adjusting period. There's going to be an adapting period. I think Soto's definitely going to perform a lot better this year than he did last year. Or I guess technically this year versus next year.
Right.
Yeah, you have to adapt. It's not like you're going to show up and everything's going to fall into place perfectly like Drury did. Lucky for him. Mm-hmm. But
I'm not against bringing Bell back for the right price, of course. If he's going to cost a lot more than we want, then obviously goodbye. But if we can get him at a relatively fair price, why not? Because he's had a track record of performing in the past. Yeah. It's like he was doing good before the trade, like one of his best years. But like going back to your point of like familiarity and all that stuff, one prime example is Manny, right? Yeah. Look at his first year here in 2019 when he signed the big deal. He wasn't living up to standards, right? Ever since then, he's been everything and beyond on what we wished for.
Yeah, and I think he's just comfortable with San Diego now.
Yeah.
Actually, my friend lives next to Josh Bell, and he just, I don't know, he said that Josh Bell didn't give off like the glowy vibes. He seemed like he was in a funk during the time that he was here.
Yeah.
I guess if that makes sense. And it looked like he was on a funk on the field. His postseason was very good, though. He had an underrated postseason, in my opinion.
For sure.
He had a lot of big hits. He had that huge double in Game 5. He had him and Drury went back-to-back. His home run off of Scherzer won us that game.
Yep.
He took the crowd out of it right away, so it made it a lot easier to perform. But I mean, he's a great baseball player. I think a lot of people like to talk down on him because of what happened during the regular season. But I still think he's a great baseball player, and he deserves a little bit more of an opportunity. Spot Rack has him at 4 years, $50 million. I don't think we'll pay that much.
I don't think so either.
I don't think it's worth it.
No.
But I don't know. It's going to be interesting because Preller's, depending on the budget, based off the budget we can assume, Preller's going to have to take a couple risks. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes.
For sure. Now, if I give you this number, I got a question for you.
All right.
If I give you an over-under on how many trades Preller will make this offseason, and I said it at first I said 1.5, I'll put it 2.5. Over or under.
Let me think about last offseason.
Alfaro was one.
Alfaro was one. Who else did he?
Voit.
Manaya.
That's 3.
That's 3. You know, I could see him making 3 trades, and it's probably going to be 3 very similar trades to that, where it's...
Yeah, it's not going to be, like, huge.
It's not going to be
ohtani,
some big
seismic.
name. Yeah, it's not going to be some seismic trade. But you're gonna see a couple of small trades that you're hoping are pieces that, if they fall in place, can be the reason you won a World Series.
Right. I think, like, one thing we can trade for is probably a reliever, a hard-throwing reliever. Because if you're watching the World Series, right, and you just watch the Astros bullpen, right, you just notice all those guys just throw straight up gas, and you can't hit them, right?
Yeah.
It's like, why not add one more guy? So, like, I like what Friar said last week. Was it Hunter Harvey from the Nats? Like,
He's
someone
big
like
on him.
him. Like, just one extra guy, because Hader, we already know. I think he's going to have a monster year next year, because he already showed it, like, in the playoffs in September.
He's figuring it out, and you give him time with Ruben, and I almost butchered his name, Ruben Nebula. Someone said we forgot about him trading for Beatty. I think we all forgot about him trading for Beatty.
Oh, yeah, let's forget about that, actually. Let's just sweep it under the rug.
And we have another person who's interested in how likely is it we land Rizzo.
Rizzo. I mean, a lot of websites are giving different numbers, because he's not going to make less than 16 on what he opted out with the Yankees. So we already know he's not going to make less than that.
Mm-hmm.
Some sites are saying 18 million, 20 million, and then Spot Rack has him for 23 million. And I just read an article in The Athletic today. Like, take it as a grain of salt. This was written by Jim Bowden.
I was about to mention what I think you're mentioning.
Yeah, so Bowden has Rizzo at 3 years, 54 million, which I would do personally, because that's only 2 million better than what he got. And his only fits are the Yankees and us.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
I
think, I mean, it depends on the market. The big thing is we can throw out names right now. We throw out numbers now, but it all depends on how the market develops. Like, for example, some team like the Rockies could be like, man, we're ready to compete. Let's sign Josh Bell for 5 years, $100 million.
Right.
And then all of a sudden Rizzo's values all the way up here versus right here.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, that's a fascinating part of like it's all about timing, right? Mm-hmm. It's like you either want to set the market or you don't, or you have to adjust to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, someone just said I think that Preller's gonna do a lot of small trades versus big trades. That I think
I
for
would
sure.
Agree. Yeah, for sure.
He doesn't have too much capital to make big trades right now, and I think he's gonna have that capital soon. I mean, Preller rebuilt the farm in like 2 to 3 years, and I think he's gonna be able to do it again. Because
I would think so. He had a good draft this July.
Yeah, he did. He had a Snelling.
Yeah.
Lesko. You're gonna add what's his name? Salas. You're gonna add a couple more guys that I don't even know who Preller's thinking of. He's gonna add a couple more. And then this upcoming draft's gonna be very weird for me because I graduated high school this year. This is the first time that players younger than me are gonna be drafted. So it's gonna be interesting to research who I want to go after. You know, it's gonna be weird looking at people younger than me, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. Preller will find a way to rebuild it. I mean, he went. What did he do? Was it Gore, Weathers, Abrams?
Gore, Weathers, Abrams, Hassel, 4 straight years, four straight number 1 picks in a row, and then Merrill,
And
5, and then Lesko 6, which were all good, except Weathers, like for now.
Weathers is fixable in my opinion.
I hope so. Like a lot of people are down on him.
I think he can be a John Lester type guy at peak. I don't think he's going to be. I mean, in 2020 when we saw him come in and he was striking out the Dodgers, it's like, whoa, we got something here. You know what I mean? And I think we still got something here, but it's just I don't know what. I mean, everyone was saying his like expected ERA was super high, and I don't like to live by that. You know, I find it difficult when people say, "Oh, our expected batting average is 200 points higher." It's like, well, you play baseball. Whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's there's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. You hit the ball hard, there's someone there. Luckily, the shift's going to be gone, so it's going to be a little bit easier to see. I guarantee the rate between expected batting average and batting average will be closed without the shift.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I kind of got off on a tangent about it. But for sure, I think that we're going to rebuild our farm very, very fast.
Yeah, because obviously I know Preller was a very interesting point of discussion or topic this whole season. Like, let's go back 7 months ago when he didn't get the big names in last offseason, right? Like, a lot of people were pissed off at him.
Yeah.
Saying, oh, it was like, me included to a degree, they're saying, oh, if he missed the playoffs, he's going to be gone. He's going to be fired.
I think I was one of those people, too.
Yeah, so it's like, I was a huge critic because, like, last year was that much, 2021 was that much of a disappointment, like, as an organization as a whole. But, like, what he did this year, like, getting Soto, obviously that's a huge trade. Hader, which, honestly, that's a steal of a trade, right?
Yeah,
if you look at it, it's like, who do we give up?
We give up Gasser.
Who's old? He's like 23 to 24, right?
Yeah, Gasser.
He doesn't throw that hard.
No, yeah. Gasser,
Ruiz, Lamet, who was let go, and Rogers.
Rogers is a free agent. Lamet's. I don't know what's gonna happen with Lamet. I think he's a free agent this year.
If he gets non-tendered, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there. And Ruiz has the ability to be like at peak a Niger Morgan guy.
Yeah.
I think
Speed.
That's my pro comp for him. And Gasser, he's a little bit too old. I think the only thing about it is Gasser may be a little bit more useful to us than we were expecting with how our rotation could look after next season.
Yeah.
But you live and you learn. You make that trade 100 out of 100 times. You got Josh
Hader.
Oh,
for sure.
Yeah, you got Josh Hader.
For sure. I mean, that's the beauty of it. Just like going back, like to how close we were to making the World Series. It's like people, like I said, people don't realize. Yeah, it was a 5-game series, but if you look at all those 5 games, when were we blown out?
None of
it them. It came down to the little things.
Yeah, and that's how baseball should be. It comes down to little things, and I think something that I learned when I've played baseball is you execute the little things, good things will happen.
Yeah.
And they execute little things, and good things went their way. You know, that didn't go our way. It sucks, man. It sucks. Speaking of the World Series, do you think the Phillies are going to be able to miraculously win 2 straight?
I think that's a huge ask, I think, in my opinion. I know the Nats did it in 2019.
They did.
To the Astros. Because Wheeler's throwing the ball for Game 6?
Yeah.
And I would assume Nola will go on short rest for Game 7.
Yep. The thing about Wheeler, though, is word on the street is that Wheeler's injured. And Suarez is going to piggyback him.
Oh. And Houston's throwing, who's in? Somber so does the rematch of Game 2. I think Houston wins one of the two.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Game 4 being like them no hitting the Phillies took something out of their win.
For sure.
No hitter. And then last night, especially the last 2 innings when the Phillies could have easily tied it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Especially that catch in the bottom of the 9th. That could have been a triple.
I saw that catch and went, that catch just won in the World Series.
Yeah,
that was my instant reaction.
Like easily.
Yeah,
easily. Sure. I think like going back to Houston, I think that's enough. Like Valdez could shut him down.
For sure. So
I think I'll say Astros win tomorrow, and they could finally lay the claim of we're legit champs this time.
I mean, no matter what you think of their World Series, you have to respect their organization, what they've done. They've been to the World Series 4 out of 6 seasons, and they almost reverse sweeped the Rays in 2020. They almost made it back then.
They're 1 game away.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Any final thoughts as we get ready to wrap up here?
I mean, shout out to you, Gavin, for doing these. I mean, there's a lot of ways this offseason can go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the beauty of it, and there should be no reason for you to stop doing these. Obviously, we'll know more as the days and weeks go on, and we'll continue to do these, like, for you, and then for me, spaces as well, like live reactions.
Yeah, make sure to check out his space.
Yes, sir. MattyCatty15 is the @, on Twitter. But my guy here, Gavin, he's a good guy. I like him a lot.
Thanks, man.
Gives a lot of good insight. Like I appreciate you having me on.
I'm glad I was able to have you on.
I got you. So it's like you got my support. I'll tell you that.
Thank you so much. All right.